The interviewer didn't look up. "We can't accommodate your kind of schedule." Patricia stepped onto the sidewalk, her 2-year-old Max heavy on her hip, the words still stinging. Across the street, a hand-painted "Help Wanted" sign caught her eye. The paint was chipped, but the message was unmistakable. She took a breath, shifted Max higher, and pushed the door open.
Afternoon. Can I help you?
I have a little boy. Daycare isn't always reliable. I know that spells trouble for an employer. But I won't let you down.
You start here Monday.
Monday, but you haven't even seen my resume.
I've seen enough. You showed up. That's more than most.
For the first time in months, tears of relief blurred her vision. She didn't try to hide them. Monday morning, Patricia arrived 10 minutes early. Max was balanced on her hip as Charles unlocked the front door.
Good morning. I was just about to open up. This is the place, a bit dusty, but it has good bones.
It's got charm. This is Max.
As Max pointed excitedly at a toy on the shelf, Patricia noticed the stack of bills Charles swiftly hid. His jaw tightened.
Is everything okay with the store?
Just paperwork. Could you start by tidying the front display?
She nodded, but the worry clung to her as she picked up a dustcloth. She had just begun dusting when the bell chimed. An older woman paused in the doorway, surprised to see a new face.
Good morning. Can I help you find something?
Patricia guided her to the right aisle, and the woman left smiling. Charles watched from a distance, his expression unreadable. All week, Patricia threw herself into the store. She reworked displays, charmed customers, and kept Max on her hip. Sales inched up, but Charles said nothing. Then a shipment of old stock arrived. Mismatched screws, dented paint cans, unlabeled parts. She stared at the chaos, and her stomach sank.
This is bleeding money. We need a real system.
New shelving's not in the budget. Just sort it best you can.
That night, after Charles had gone and Max was asleep on a blanket in the corner, Patricia pulled a slim laptop from her bag. She hadn't opened it in months. Her mind flashed back to the bright corporate office. The manager's voice was stone. "You won the Inventory Optimization Award, but your absences," the voice cut through again. "We have to let you go. The absences, your son's illnesses are too frequent." She snapped the laptop shut. The verdict was clear in her mind. Skilled, efficient, and unhireable, because she was a mother first.
If Charles learns why I got fired, that I am here because no one else would take me.
She looked at the dusty boxes. The skills to fix this mess were burning inside her, but the risk felt like handing over the last fragile thing she had. The next afternoon, in the back room, she froze. Through the wall, Charles's voice came strained and desperate.
If I can't make payroll, I'll have to let her go. She's got a kid. The bank won't budge.
He's about to lose everything, and I am the weight he won't drop.
She closed her eyes. The words echoed, and something inside her snapped into place. That night, she stayed after closing. Max was asleep on a blanket in the corner. She opened the laptop. The inventory software she'd built years ago was still there.
If I do this, I am using the skills they fired me for. If he finds out.
But the alternative was walking away. This time, she decided to fight. She opened a spreadsheet and began to map every item, every cost, every gap. She didn't know if it would save the store, but she couldn't let him face it alone. She worked until the screen blurred, cataloging every bolt and hinge. Max slept on his blanket in the corner.
If he learns I am doing this behind his back, he might see it as a betrayal.
The same spreadsheet she'd built for a corporate chain now tracked a small-town hardware store. A customer wanted a discontinued hinge. Patricia handed it to him before Charles could say hello.
You are starting to know this inventory better than I do.
I just remember where things are. That's all.
A supplier called that afternoon, bewildered. He said the order patterns had shifted and were more efficient than they'd ever been.
Efficient. When's the last time I changed an order?
Patricia had spent nights on the phone with that same supplier, negotiating lower costs under Charles's name. She arrived exhausted the next morning, but the sales report showed a small uptick, and nobody needed to know why. For days, Patricia moved through the store on fumes. smiling at customers, restocking shelves, while her secret hours piled up. Charles saw the laptop open more often. He wanted to ask, but feared pushing her away. One evening, he brought her coffee and a sandwich. She looked up, startled, and the words almost spilled out.
Tell him. Number. Not until I know it'll work.
Then the sign went up across the street. A bigger, newer hardware store with a grand opening banner. Charles stood at the window, his shoulders slumping. A competitor had moved in, and he knew what that meant.
I need to move faster. This can't be the end.
That night, she didn't go home. She sat at the back desk, recalculating margins, cutting waste. Max slept in his carrier. She fed him a bottle at 2 a.m. Then she kept typing. She woke with her head on the counter. Max curled against her. The sun was rising, and the store was still standing. The day passed in a blur. Charles saw the exhaustion on her face, the way she jumped when he spoke.
You don't have to stay so late every night.
That night, he returned to the store at 10, having forgotten his wallet. The backlight was on. Patricia was hunched over the laptop, surrounded by inventory sheets and coffee cups. She didn't hear him.
Patricia?
Just some personal budgeting. Couldn't sleep.
He didn't press, but his eyes lingered on the closed laptop. Then he left without another word.
I lied to the only person who gave me a chance. The shame is a physical ache.
The next morning, Charles was polite, but his gaze followed her, heavy with unasked questions.
He knows something is wrong. I have to fix this before it breaks everything.
Despite the close call, Patricia threw herself back into the system. The store hummed. Fewer out of stocks, faster service, brighter displays. A regular leaned on the counter. Whatever you two are doing, don't stop. This place hasn't felt this alive in years.
Here. Consider this a thank you.
A bonus. The first extra money in months. My hands won't stop trembling.
Then the supplier called. Charles answered casually, but the voice on the other end was enthusiastic. He heard the words, "Patricia's new order plan is outstanding. We've never had such accurate projections from a small store." His face went still. He set the phone down, the clatter echoing.
Patricia, can we talk?
He knows. Not all of it, but enough.
The whole store seemed to hold its breath. In the back office, he closed the door. The click was soft, but it sounded like a lock turning.
You've been doing more than just stocking shelves, haven't you?
This is it. The truth, or the last lie.
She took a breath that shuddered through her. Then she told him everything.
I was an inventory manager at a retail chain. I won an award for optimization. But my son kept getting sick. My absences piled up. They fired me. No one else would hire me because I am a mother first. I was ashamed. I didn't want you to think I looked down on your store. I only wanted to help.
The words hung between them, raw and final. She waited for the dismissal she was sure would come. Charles didn't speak. His face was unreadable, the silence stretching.
This is where he tells me to leave, and I'll have nowhere to go.
You thought I'd fire you for being good at your job?
His voice wasn't angry. It was the sound of a man who'd been alone too long.
I hired you because I saw honesty and grit, not pity. I've been invisible in this store for years. You made me remember what it feels like to not eat dinner alone. I am not angry about the secret. I am hurt you. Thought you had to carry it alone.
He admitted the store was nearly bankrupt. Her hidden work might be the only thing keeping it afloat.
What do we do now?
He's not firing me. He's asking for help.
She took a shaky breath, opened her laptop, and turned the screen toward him. For the first time, they weren't employer and employee. They were two people fighting for the same thing. For the next few days, the back office became a war room. Laptops open, coffee growing cold.
If an item sits on the shelf for 6 months, it's dead money. We need turnover.
I know every face that walks in. Mrs. Hargrove buys hinges in March. The Martinez family paints in August. That matters too.
They built a plan together, matching data with instinct, until the numbers finally started to make sense.
This plan is good, but the debt's not going anywhere. We need the bank.
They've said no before. Why would they listen now?
Because this time, it's not just you. It's us. And I have the data to make them see it.
Charles watched her, the way she spoke about margins and projections, and for the first time, he saw a way forward. They turned her spreadsheet into a full proposal. Graphs, revenue forecasts, and a section called Why We Survived. The loan officer agreed to meet on Friday, 2 days. That was all they had to get it right. Friday morning, they sat across the loan officer's desk. Charles tapped his foot. Patricia's binder was open, her posture steady.
Don't let the nerves show. She's carrying this.
Our inventory turnover is up 40%. Supplier costs down 15%. And we've rebuilt customer loyalty.
The officer raised an eyebrow. He'd seen the store's ledgers for years, and they'd never looked like this. He asked about Patricia's role. Her answer was calm. She'd managed inventory for a national chain before having her son.
I applied the same principles here. This store is a small business, but the math doesn't change.
The officer leaned back. He needed time to review the numbers. They'd receive a call by Monday.
We did everything we could. Now it's not in our hands.
They walked out into the bright noon sun. Neither spoke. The silence was heavier than any question.
Whatever happens Monday, I meant what I said. You are not just an employee.
The weekend crawled. The store stayed quiet, and Charles paced like a caged animal. He snapped at a regular for blocking an aisle. Patricia put a hand on his arm and stepped in. After closing, she wiped down the counter while he slumped at the back table, head in his hands. She set down sandwiches and coffee. They ate in silence, but it wasn't empty.
When Max was born, I thought I could do it all. But the world didn't care. I felt like a failure.
I've been eating dinner alone for 10 years. You being here. It's the first time I haven't felt invisible.
The phone shattered the quiet. It was the bank. He answered, "Yes. This is Charles." His face gave nothing away.
This is it. Everything we fought for.
He listened. Then slowly, he set the receiver down. The silence was deafening. Charles turned slowly. The silence stretched for a breath, another. Then a grin broke across his face, cracking the tension.
The loan. They approved it. Restructured.
Patricia's hands flew to her mouth. A sound escaped her. Half laugh, half sob, and she stumbled forward. He crossed the distance in 2 steps and pulled her into a fierce hug. Neither could speak, just held on.
You did this, Patricia. You saved us.
I belong here. For the first time in years, I am not a burden.
When they pulled back, their faces were wet, grinning like fools who'd just won the lottery. On the counter, the bank envelope sat forgotten. The stamp of approval was real.
You are not just an employee. You are the reason this place is still standing.
She couldn't answer. The tears rolling down her cheeks said everything he needed to know. With the loan, they tore into the store. New paint, better lights, shelves that didn't sag. The place started to breathe again. Outside, a new canvas awning went up. The hand-painted sign was clean again. Neighbors who'd stopped coming peeked inside. Reopening day brought the whole block. Old regulars mixed with new faces, laughter bouncing off the freshly painted walls. Patricia moved through the crowd with quiet confidence, remembering names, solving problems. The store girl had become its backbone. Charles stood by the wall, watching. The look on his face wasn't just pride, it was something deeper. Something he hadn't named yet. Later, after the rush, he stepped outside and looked up at the sign. The same old name, but nothing else was the same.
Never thought I'd see the day this place felt like home.
It never would have. Not without you.
That evening, after the last customer left, he asked her to sit. His hands were still, but his voice wasn't.
There's something I've been thinking about. Something that changes everything.
He slid a single sheet across the counter. The heading read, Partnership Agreement.
50%. This store belongs to you as much as it belongs to me.
She stared at the document, her name printed beneath his. The pen seemed to burn on the counter.
Why would you do this?
Because you believed in this place when I'd stopped. Because I'd...
He didn't finish. There were words heavy enough to break a man.
The dinners alone are over. You are not just an employee. You are family.
Her hand reached out and covered his. The pen remained untouched. No more words were needed. The silence said more than any signature. The partnership offer hung in the air, a promise not yet sealed by ink but already written in their eyes. Patricia reached for the pen. Her hand didn't tremble.
You gave me a chance. When the world said I was unhireable, this store became my home.
The pen scratched once, and her signature settled beside his. Charles let out a breath that was half laugh, half sob. The tension in his shoulders finally released. He pulled her into a hug that said everything the words couldn't. When they parted, there was a charged silence, but it wasn't heavy anymore. Max toddled out from the back room, rubbing his eyes. He always woke up right when things got good. Charles scooped him up without thinking. The boy didn't fuss. Patricia watched them, and the last missing piece clicked into place. Later, they shared a dinner in the back office, not as employer and employee, but as something closer. The dinners alone were over. The store belonged to both of them now. Weeks passed in a blur of new faces and old tools. The store hummed with a life it hadn't known in years. Patricia managed the floor, a play corner for Max tucked by the counter. Charles kept the back running smooth, a fresh coat of paint on the sign, and the door never stopped swinging. The hardware store had become the neighborhood's heart. One morning, before the town stirred, Patricia stood at the front window with a coffee, watching the sunrise. She didn't hear Charles approach, just felt his presence beside her. The floorboards creaked once, then stilled.
I never thought I'd feel this settled.
Me neither.
They didn't need more words. The silence wasn't empty. It was full. The store that nearly closed was now the beating heart of a block. And the single mom no one would hire, she was the reason it stood. Later that morning, a man came out of the store and looked at Patricia. "Are you the owner?"
I am one of them.
Inside, Charles paused mid-stock, a grin finding its way to his face. He didn't need to say a word. That evening, after the last bolt had been sold, they locked up together. Max was asleep against Patricia's shoulder. Without a word, Charles slipped off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She didn't react. It was that kind of quiet now. They walked down the block, the streetlights flickering to life, the same ones that had watched her months ago, exhausted and hopeless. But this time, the weight on her hip wasn't too heavy to carry. The single mom no one would hire became the reason the store survived, and the reason Charles stopped eating alone. The sign on the door had been repainted. It didn't say "Help Wanted" anymore. It just said "Welcome," and inside, every shelf, every nail, every hinge, finally had a home. The next morning, the sun came up on a store that didn't need help anymore. The sign was clean. The shelves were full, and the door stood open before the first customer arrived. Inside, Max's little truck sat by the play corner. A half-empty coffee cup rested on the counter. The place breathed with the quiet noise of a home.
Hard to believe this was almost boarded up.
Not hard at all. I remember the day I walked in. You didn't even blink.
That was the best decision I ever made.
The bell over the door chimed, and the day's first customer stepped in. Mrs. Hargrove, there for her annual hinges, greeted them like family.
Morning, Mrs. Hargrove. Hinges, right?
Charles watched for a moment, then turned back to the shelves. He had a delivery to sort, but for the first time, it didn't feel like a burden. And in the window, where a faded "Help Wanted" sign had once hung, the morning light hit only clean glass. Some places don't just survive. They learn to belong again. They closed up together, the same way they did every night now. The key turned, the lock clicked, and the silence that followed wasn't lonely.
Same time tomorrow?
Wouldn't miss it.
Max was already asleep against her shoulder, one tiny fist still curled around a plastic hammer. As they walked home, the street lamp caught the sign above the door, the word "Welcome," still bright against the evening sky. Patricia looked back once. The same window she had stood outside months ago, exhausted and hopeless, now framed a lit space that hummed with life.
I didn't just find a job here. I found where I belong.
Inside, The shelves held more than screws and paint. They carried the quiet hum of a hardware store that had become a home. The single mom, no one would hire, walked into the night with her son in her arms, her store behind her, and a future that finally felt like her own. Welcome home, and the days fell into a quiet rhythm. The shelves stayed full, the register kept count, and the bell above the door never stopped ringing. The hand-painted sign had been repainted twice since that first winter. The word welcome never faded.
Some mornings, I still can't believe it's ours.
Believe it. We're still here.
Her hands, once trembling over a laptop in the dark, now gripped the morning's delivery list with the ease of long practice. Max was under the counter with his wooden truck, the same one he'd clung to that first terrifying interview. It was scratched now, but never left behind. They'd stopped counting the close calls and the quiet wins. The store didn't need counting anymore. It needed living. The hardware store on Maple Street had become a place people came not just for nails, but for the quiet certainty that someone would always be there. And the single mom they said no one would hire, she'd hired herself into a life that didn't just survive. It flourished. You start here Monday,